So anyway, I adore her. I absolutely adore her. This is her second time at Voice Box. I just know her career is wide and far-reaching, and I'm looking forward to us watching her on broader stages. Please give a warm welcome to Lise Graham.
Hello, what a freaking awesome night it is. Thank you to all the storytellers so far and Cathy. Amazing work. Thanks to all the folks that came out of the city and of Colorado, Uncle Pete, to see me. And my doctor, family doctors. It's a good night. Anyway, okay. Here we go. I met my first English boyfriend in the flagship Forever 21 store on Michigan Avenue, back when I was over there, in Chicago. My friends and I were playing hooky from a nearby Model United Nations conference. We'd made the universal decision that our looks for that night's delegate dance were far more important than whatever drama fake NATO was going through. A male British accent wafted over to me from the sunglasses display, and I peeked around the corner and saw him. He was tall, dirty blonde hair, wearing a navy tracksuit, maybe an athlete of some sort, soccer player, hello. Emboldened by the peppermint schnapps I tipped into my hot chocolate, I dropped the 8-pack of hoop earrings I'd been playing with and marched over to him like only a day-drunk Anglophile would. Oh my God, where are you from? He looked confused, so I quickly explained that I was going to be moving to Sheffield in the north of England for an exchange program pretty soon. No way, I literally live 10 miles up the road from there, he responded with an incomprehensible accent. I asked him to repeat this slower, and he did, and I marveled at the coincidence. I made him take my number. I'd gotten into the program a few weeks earlier, and after sharing a romantic vision I had of myself and some faceless British man cozying up together by a fireplace in a pub, my college bestie gave me her professional opinion. You should probably lose your virginity before you go to the UK so you don't like get attached to any English guys, you know? So later that week, I was deflowered by an American guy. Oh yeah, I did it with TJ, a bodybuilding nerd I knew from Model UN, in my twin bed under its tie-dye IKEA duvet, chorused by my roommate's snores from the room next door. So anyway, I swiped the V card and I was ready to date Brits, and here I am with Jack from Forever 21. So he was a kid's soccer coach, I found out, with an expired visa, so he'd be heading back home for the holidays, and this meant if I kept in touch with him, I'd have someone over there to help me like get settled, you know? Plus, if I introduced him to my mom, shout out mom, maybe she could get off my balls about my safety while abroad. And he was a total gentleman, you know? He paid for everything. He opened every door for me, like it kind of got annoying. And he made me feel super beautiful. Plus, he did charm the pants off my parents, even though I don't think they could really understand anything he was saying. But he returned to the UK a month before my arrival there. And while we were apart, I missed him dearly. Or maybe I missed having stuff paid for me and having those heavy doors opened. But whatever, comme c'est comme ça. Finally, my departure day came, and after my parents and I had a synchronized panic attack looking for my passport, my dad found it in my purse. Still great, thank God. Thank you, Dad, for that one. My folks drove me to O'Hare. I proudly donned my brand new Doc Martens and boarded the plane dreamily. Knowing someone was waiting for me on the other side was romantic. So Jack met me at Manchester Airport, as promised, right on time. Gray peacoat, blue eyes, slightly chapped lips, and he hoisted my luggage with ease. That's all we cared about, right? Carried the luggage. We boarded the train to Barnsley, which was his hometown, and our plan was to stay with his folks for a few days before he helped me move to my student flat in Sheffield. So, you know, I had to meet the parents, and then I'd get them to, you know, move my stuff. And things started going downhill very quickly, because Barnsley was pretty depressing. It seemed to have its very own permanent black and white filter. The city center was mostly empty, except for like the plastic Tesco bags and the empty beer cans blowing in the wind. So 10 minutes after we arrived to his parents' house, he threw a fit when I was assigned to sleep in his little sister's room instead of sharing the bottom bunk with him. And this is considering his stepbrother, whose name was also Jack, had the top bunk. I was pretty okay with the arrangement, you know. I had a lot of stuffed animals to deal with, but it's okay. So during our 5-day stay in this British purgatory, we did very little in the daytime besides eat biscuits and drink tea and watch reruns of a British dating show called Take Me Out. Anyone? Really good. Yeah, really sexist. At night, which we would want from a British dating show, but at night we went out with his crew, which, you know, I thought was going to be this like sexy group of soccer players, but it was actually a slightly scary group of misfits. All the women wore like way too much eyeliner, and the guys were like mostly drug dealers. But that meant we got a discount on some Molly, so I had my first club drug experience, and I did not look in the mirror, so we're good there. But I did wake up with lockjaw on someone's floor to the sound of a baby crying, and I was like, train spotting! What the fuck? This is not the plan, you know? And then we went home to Jack's parents, and we got home to a very upset stepmom who presented a pair of knickers to us, which she found on the bottom bunk, and I was like, what? Oh, those are my knickers. What followed was a monologue about trust and responsibility, much of which I couldn't understand thanks to Jack's intermittent, like, sweary retorts. And at the end, she folded up my purple Victoria's Secret hipsters and handed them to me. She told me she washed them. And that she loved me like the daughter-in-law she knew that I someday would be. Yeah, so, well, I said goodbye to my never-in-laws forever the next morning, and now just had to figure out how to ditch their psychotic son, whose muscles and navigational skills were a little too valuable to ditch just yet. So, yeah, you know what I'm gonna say. Modern world, you know. But the train pulled into Sheffield, and I was instantly relieved to see that compared to Barnsley, it was a metropolis dotted with cafes and cinemas and Indian restaurants, little old churches, so cute. The international dorm was situated a few miles away at the end of a field in an area called the Student Village, and my room, which was 25 square feet, had its own bathroom, very small, as you can imagine, and a view of the hills. I had 10 flatmates altogether, and most of them seemed to be from Australia. They were really cool, but also very confused by this rude British guy following me around, because Jack didn't have anything to do until his visa came, so he was having himself a little vacation in my room on my dime. He borrowed over 200 pounds of my cash to buy weed and Subway and beer, which he then consumed during the day while I was visiting my little, you know, orientations and stuff. And at night, he took up most of my tiny bed. Single beds over there in the UK, smaller than our twin beds here, I'll just say that. So I'd hang off the bed, and I'd think, this has got to change. So it did. I changed it. Yes. Jack went home the next week to work on a construction site with his dad. And I waited till Friday to break up with him on Skype. Remember it? Video call, thank you. Like a true millennial. He looked pathetic. He cried and he yelled at me. He had black smudges all over his face, so he looked like he had just left like the steel mills. And he told me that he thought I used him for his resources. And I pressed end on the call and I stared blankly out my window, and I thought maybe I did. Or maybe I just changed my mind. And maybe a little both. But I got over Jack pretty quickly. I did miss having someone to talk to, though, because everyone back home was 6 hours behind, and the Aussies were lovely, but they already had their own inside jokes. and they kept trying to force Vegemite on me, and I was just like not having it. I was really thankful though when classes began. I had books to read and professors to impress. I signed up to work at the student radio station where a week later I'd find myself co-hosting the late breakfast show, slowly saying words into the mic in my funny accent for the entertainment of my co-hosts. Banana, aluminum, mom, they loved it. The Aussies, they invited me to a club called the Corporation, where on Wednesdays you had to wear school uniforms, so like the white button-up shirt and tie. It was very cool. And to get in, and from then on I was in with the Aussies posse. I just made that up. Each night after that, we would go out, and it always ended with a drunken trip to the chip shop at the top of the hill. Lots of vinegar. I put a lot of ketchup on it. Those delicious greasy chips. But Fridays were my favorite because my absolute favorite class met in the library on Fridays. It was called Storying Sheffield, and it was an ethno-geographical narrative writing class. So writing about a place from your particular point of view. So unlike my large history and politics lectures, this class was small, just 15 students besides myself. They were mostly jaded Brits in their final year. And unlike them, I, the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed American, was a picture of participation. I was Hermione and that bitch. And shockingly, my enthusiasm didn't ward off my classmates. Actually, after the third week, they thought I was cool enough to join them in the pub, or, just someone to mutually laugh at. So I walked there excitedly, like a puppy, with Coco, this cool girl. She's like a brown-eyed, half-Dutch woman who is always about to smoke a cigarette, but I never actually saw her smoke one, And I was babbling at her about my now dead love life, my newfound independence, I interrupted myself, though, when I saw the building we were walking into. It was a standalone 2-story brick house with a red door. And it was nestled between the Union and the library. I never really noticed it. Above the door, it said University Arms. And I was like, is this the school pub? There's a pub here? And she was like, yeah. And we walked in, and it was a school pub, and the place was busy, but not hectic. It felt oddly familiar, like a scene from a movie, like Fitzgerald's, honestly. Glasses clinked and laughter erupted. Music played and sunlight burst through the windows. And I had floated dreamily over to the bar where I studied the beers on tap. I felt a pang of homesickness when I saw the Blue Moon logo, and prompted by the bartender, I requested a pint of that, please. I looked up, startled by his facial expression that was like, really, in an English pub, lady? But I smiled expectantly, give me that Blue Moon, and he gave up, nodding instead to my t-shirt, David Bowie's Aladdin Sane. Just like that on the shirt. Thanks for the prop, Dad. And he said, cool shit, we've got the same birthday. And I said, oh, no, so you have Elvis too? Lucky, I just have Dr. Phil. He handed me the beer and said, Doctor who? Stay there. Not Doctor Who, just Dr. Phil who. He disappeared into the back. And I subconsciously fixed my hair and grabbed one of the orange slices on the glass. He gave me 2. The music changed. Young Americans by Bowie began, and I took a sip of beer to hide my grin. As he walked back out, cool song, I said. Get it? Because you're wearing that shirt and you're a young American? Yeah, I get it, I'm not dumb, I retorted. He laughed, and I winced, and found myself sticking out my hand. Lise, I said. Sam, he said. We shook. I met my second English boyfriend at the University Arms on Ackesall Road in Sheffield. A bit more on theme, Annette.